Hello everyone! Let's get into the nightmares again, this time with TeruShouEnnoTana, direct continuation of the trick or treat video. Of course, the storyline goes on. What can I say more to this? I don't know. But I'm loving the storyline so far and I am looking forward to continue it. It's going to be fun. As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch these videos. You are keeping this channel alive and going. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. Everything hurt, and he was scared. It was cold and dark around him, only allowing him to raise his head a bit from the floor and see merely a meter ahead. But he didn't need to see to know where he was. He still remembered it, every detail of the plain walls and concrete floor. The way the muscles on his arms protested against being pulled back, and his wrist ached under the constant pressure digging into his skin. He wanted to call for help, scream until his throat was sore in the faintest hope someone would hear him, but he gave up on that hours ago. Or was it days? He could hardly tell anymore. Then, something even colder than the floor pressed against his head, followed by a gust of hot air on his neck. No, not air. Breath. Trick or treat. He sprang up on the bed, the remnants of the terrified cry still echoing off the walls. His chest heaved, cold shivers running through his body when the light night breeze coming from the open window touched his skin. Dark and cold, just like before. But he could move now. He could get away, escape and... Suguru? He flinched away when the soft, sleep-laced voice sounded beside him, almost falling over the edge of the bed. Shh, it's okay, it's okay. You're safe. Don't be scared. He only realized how much he was trembling when the warm hand caught his, keeping him from backing away again and potentially falling. In more ways than one. He clutched the blanket, now damp from sweat and the tears now slowly drying on his cheeks, and instinctively pulled it closer to shield himself from the cold air. Enoshita understood the motion and lightly squeezed his hand before getting up. I'll close it. Try to breathe in the meantime, okay? Slowly, in and out. Daisho did as he was told, finding comfort in the somewhat warm blanket and the quiet tapping of Enoshita's bare feet on the wooden floor. Right, he was home now. He was no longer bound or silenced. There was nothing to be scared of anymore. He let his head fall into his palms, biting hard on his lip to conceal the pathetic sounds clawing their way out of his throat. Enoshita didn't need to know he was so weak a mere nightmare could turn him into a whimpering ball. The mattress sunk a bit under a new weight, and then the warm hand gently rubbed his shoulder, while the other pulled his hands from his face. It's okay. Take a deep breath. Everything is fine now. Sorry. Giving him a gentle, sympathetic smile, Enoshita pushed the damp hair from his forehead, reminding him he needed a haircut again. You have nothing to be sorry for. But I woke you up. Again. I'm sorry. Hey, shh. It's fine. You can't help what you dream about. He pressed his lips into a thin line, shaking his head a bit. I don't even want to imagine how much that bastard hurt you that it keeps haunting you even now. It wasn't just that. He sniffed and rubbed his eyes to get the mist from his vision. As much as he wanted to forget the Halloween encounter, dismiss it as something his mind perhaps created from the fragments of his memories and imagination, he knew too well it wasn't just some weird hallucination. His safe place was intruded, violated in the worst way possible, and it started to take toll on his sleep as well. And not just his. He snapped out of his thoughts when Enoshita gently pinched his cheek. Do you think you will be able to fall asleep again? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Try it and we will see. I'm here with you, okay? I'm not going anywhere. Dashio's vision hazed again. He was almost certain his nightmares wouldn't care about that, but he did, the knowledge chasing away the cold settled under his skin. Despite his usual sleeping habits, he snuggled a bit closer to Enoshita, earning a content hum he knew meant a smile. After a while, he fell back into an uneasy slumber. Once again, he woke up drenched in cold sweat, his breathing rapid and shallow as he tried to catch his stolen breath. Why does it always have to be so realistic? A rumbling groan snapped him back into reality. He hugged his middle, curling a bit more into a ball when he realized he managed to disturb everyone from their much-needed rest. Again. He avoided Enoshita's gaze, too ashamed to meet his eyes after ruining his sleep for a week straight, only to catch Terushima stifling a long yawn and Tanaka flopping down on his pillow on the other side of the bed, his expression annoyed. Everything okay? Dashio nodded quickly, pulling the blanket closer to him as a weak shield, his gaze falling on his hands folded in his lap. Yeah, it's fine. Sorry. Tanaka sighed deeply, crossing his forearms over his eyes. I'm not getting proper sleep today either, huh? Dashio flinched, the words cutting deep into his soul. He didn't have any illusions that his nightmares were anything but a pleasant experience for others, but this was the first time they got this bad since he moved in with his partners. And for the first time, he could see the impact on their worsening mood. Even Terushima, who was usually a sun incarnate in both his mood and personality, seemed to be getting crankier with every night his sleep was interrupted. Tanaka was just the first to say out loud what all three of them surely thought. Sorry. Enoshita clicked his tongue and sat up, throwing Tanaka what Dashio supposed was one of his warning glances. Come on, that wasn't necessary. What? I need my 8 hours or I'll fall asleep at work. Go sleep on the couch then. Tanaka huffed but stayed silent after that. Rolling his eyes, Enoshita turned back to Dashio, carefully taking hold of his hands. Feeling better? Dashio nodded despite feeling anything but better, but it wasn't necessary to bother anyone else with it. This was his problem, not theirs. No one else should bear the consequences of his bad dreams but him. Can we do something to help? Yeah, like make you a tea or put on heating or something. No, I'll be fine now, really. I'm sorry. Enoshita didn't look convinced by that, but eventually laid back down, reaching out his arm to him to create a space for him to snuggle into. Come here. Dashio shook his head and backed away to the very edge of the bed, avoiding the touch. Maybe not. I could wake you up again. Oh, alright, sure. Do whatever is comfortable for you. Just remember you can always snuggle. With that, he let his arm fall and huddled under the duvet. Terushima watched him for a moment longer, the uncertainty not disappearing from his face even with Dashio's second reassurance that he was okay, and only laid down when Dashio did so too. Soon, the sound of soft snoring mixed into the silence. Daisho waited for some time until he was sure all three of them were soundly asleep, and then carefully crawled from the bed, making sure not to make much noise as he tapped over the floor and closed the door behind him. He immediately missed the warmth of the blankets and his boyfriend's presence next to him, but it was a better solution than risk waking everyone up again. He only allowed himself a shaky breath when he stopped in the living room, his arm still wrapped firmly around his waist and hand clutched on his night t-shirt. A thought to move into his room for the night crossed his mind, but considering it was situated right beside the bedroom and the walls weren't the thickest, there was a high chance he would startle his boyfriends awake with his scream even from there. That wouldn't go well either. Not now. And so he pushed open the glass door leading to the garden, shivering when the cold night air bit into his exposed skin. The blanket he wrapped around himself when he settled on one of the chairs did little to nothing to provide protection against the cold, but it was better than nothing. And the cold would at least keep him awake. It's fine. You've ruined their sleep for the whole week, so it's only fair if you lose some. They won't notice you are gone anyway. With a sigh, he pulled his knees to his chest and laid his chin on them, his eyes fixed looking forward into the darkened garden. To his surprise, the next time Tanaka woke up during that night wasn't because of another tormented cry. He wasn't even sure what it was that tore him out of the land of dreams when his exhaustion was at its peak and he could probably sleep for 3 days if his schedule allowed him to. But right now, something was wrong. He could feel it. Slightly confused, he yawned and rubbed his eyes, trying to figure out where the feeling came from. The bedroom was dark with the exception of the little nightlight they bought a few days ago for Daisho in hopes to keep him from panicking. It wasn't cold, as they always close the windows nowadays to not get anyone sick. And the only sound interrupting the peaceful silence was the soft breathing of his boyfriends. So what was causing that nudging feeling of wrongness? I swear to God's brain if you aren't letting me sleep because of something stupid. He sat up with a quiet groan, taking a few seconds to blink himself awake and to look around. A jolt ran through his body when his gaze fell on their bed, counting 2 bodies next to him instead of 3. A brief flash of panic clutched his heart. The strange Halloween encounter was still very much alive in their heads, and while Daisho was unsurprisingly distressed the most from it, the crawling feeling of danger stayed with all of them. It's fine. Maybe he just went to the bathroom. Or get some snacks. It wasn't a secret that Daisho had a hidden stash of sweets he raided when his nerves were strained, which, after all the nightmares, they had to be. Still, he carefully unwrapped himself from the sheets and headed to search the house, too worried about the potential danger to leave it be. Better lose some sleep now than risk being late in case of an emergency. The rest of the house was quiet, too quiet for his liking, and there was no light coming from under the bathroom door or kitchen either. With every step he took, his chest constricted more, urging him to move faster, to look into every room and corner, to make sure Daisho was alright. Come on, he couldn't just disappear, right? We would hear it if... No, okay, stop. He's fine, for sure. Please be okay. The panic returned with a new force when, despite feeling horrible for invading Daisho's privacy, he peeked into his room too, hoping Daisho just went to sleep there. But the bed was empty, the sight worrying Tanaka perhaps even more than anything else. Fine, what now? What didn't I check yet? He made a beeline towards the garden door, immediately breathing a sigh of relief when he spotted the curled-up form on one of the chairs. Dasho flinched when he opened the door, pulling away at the same time as he looked up. It made Tanaka's heart ache, but he had other things to worry about. Here you are. I was worried you got lost. Though getting lost was the better option in Tanaka's head in the last several minutes. Dasho didn't react at first, still watching him with what Tanaka could imagine was caution, before he lowered his eyes to the patio floor. I just needed some air. That's why you are freezing out here in the middle of the night? Come on, let's get you inside. He wasn't that stupid to reach his hand towards him, knowing he wouldn't help anything and just chase Dasho more into a corner, even though that wasn't his intention. The best course of action would be to leave him alone for now, but with Dasho's proneness to getting cold, he couldn't in his best conscience let him sit outside overnight. Yet, Dasho still didn't move, and then just barely shook his head. Huh? Why not? You're cold, aren't you? You always are. Concerned when he didn't get an answer, he slowly moved closer and squatted down to be under Dasho's line of sight. What's wrong? Finally, Dasho looked at him again, his face bearing signs of pain that had nothing to do with anything physical. You should go back to sleep. You have work tomorrow and you need rest. Realization hit Tanaka like a brick. He inwardly cursed his tired brain and too fast mouth for making him sound more annoyed, and apparently more hostile than he would ever want. He gently took one of Dasho's hands in his, praying he didn't feel the usual flinch he was unfortunately so used to. I'm not going back without you. Why? I'll just wake you up, like always. I'll lose sleep anyway if you stay out here on your own. Dasho blinked, apparently surprised by that. Why? Because I'll be worrying about you and if you are alright, especially when I know you are cold right now. Come on, I'll make you tea. Sounds good? He put the two steaming mugs in front of them, pushing a jar with honey towards Dasho, who accepted it with a small, grateful nod before he hugged the mug with his hands. Dasho started to tremble immediately after they got inside, despite the blanket he already had and the second one Tanaka draped over his shoulders right after. Though, judging by the caution Dasho occasionally watched him with, Tanaka would be surprised if the trembles were caused just by the cold. He sighed. Still no good, I see. Damn it. He was neither blind nor stupid. He saw the amount of tension that always gathered in Dasho's posture when he was around, the hesitation in his actions and movements. And while Dasho already managed to accept hugs and short cheek kisses when everyone was around, when it was just the two of them, he couldn't even come close to Dasho without startling him. It broke his heart each and every time, the brief flashes of panic in his boyfriend's eyes whenever he touched him enough to tear it to pieces. He knew Dasho needed time and space, but this was something different. Almost as if Dasho was actually scared of him, despite agreeing to enter into a relationship with him too, and he wasn't sure what to do about it. Sorry. He looked up, finding Dasho glancing up at him uncertainly. Shaking his head, he decided to push his luck a bit and reached for Dasho's hand, holding it lightly enough to give him the opportunity to pull away if he needed. You have nothing to be sorry for. I should apologize to you for being cranky. You have the right to be. No, I don't. It's not your fault you have nightmares. I am tired, that's true. But I have no right to take it out on you. So you aren't mad? No, of course not. Dasho still seemed to be hesitating in trusting his words. But then, to Tanaka's immense joy, his shoulders relaxed slightly. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. Tanaka flashed him a smile, gently squeezing his hand before letting him drink the tea without obstructions. It felt almost surreal to sit together like this, in the middle of the night nonetheless. A myriad of questions burned on Tanaka's tongue, but asking any of them would shatter the fragile state of calm they now had between them. However, he supposed at least one of them wouldn't cause that much harm. Did you tell your therapist about the nightmares? Dasho froze, and Tanaka immediately regretted asking. While he didn't know many details, he had no illusions about what happened to Dasho in the past, and the last thing he wanted was to make him feel threatened for seeking help when he needed it. I'm not asking to force you to tell anyone. Not immediately, at least. Take your time, just... I think she might be able to help. Sighing, Dasho lowered his head, absent-mindedly stirring the tea for a while before he spoke up. I didn't tell her about the current ones. I wanted to, but it all comes back when I just think about them and I can't say it out loud. Okay, that's fine. I'm sure you will get there eventually. But in the meantime, if there's anything we can help with, I don't want to bother you with this. He let out a sour, slightly strangled chuckle. Though I already do, don't I? Suguru, you aren't bothering us with anything. You've been through hell. It's alright to ask for help. And we are your partners. We are here for you whenever you need. Dasho's eyes widened, his lips parting a bit. It made him look even prettier than usual, and Tanaka had to mentally slap himself for thinking inappropriate thoughts when they were talking about a serious matter. Despite that, his only salvation came when Dasho lowered his head again. I know. Thank you for that. Tanaka cleared his throat, but before he could say anything, Terushima waddled into the light, yawning and rubbing sleep out of his eyes. How come you have tea without me? That's not fair. He paused, his eyes darting between them for a split second. Did I interrupt something? A small smile curled Dasho's lips, and Tanaka would lie if he said he didn't feel a tug of jealousy in his chest. No, we just talked a bit. Want to join us? The water should still be hot. You can make yourself a cup too. Despite the late hour, Terushima grinned and rushed into the kitchen, a soft humming of some distantly familiar melody soon reaching their ears. Tanaka rolled his eyes in a loving exasperation before motioning to Dasho's mug. Drink up. We still need to warm you up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The more I think about it, the more I'm starting to realize that every Polyship I've written so far, all three of them, are basically just the established couple or throuple adopting a stray cat. With TeruShouEnnoTana, it's Daisho. With Kugu Inushiba, it's Kuguri. And in Semishira Kawagata, it's Taichi. I don't know how it happened, but it kind of feels like it. Like, try to look at it a bit more. It's just them adopting a terrified stray cat from shelter and trying to get it used to normal life. Anyway, I'm talking too much, I know. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time.